everyone, Ashley Mailloux here, taking a look at the race of the day for Wednesday, June 25th. We go to Horseshoe Indianapolis for that event, and it's race 8 on their 10-race program. It's a 6-furlong handicap race. The Nobody listened. A nice race named after a really good Indiana bred who was 14 for 26 in his career, and he capped off his career on the racetrack with a win in the Grade 3 Turf Monster. And you get a really good field with this event, a field of 12 here. You have to go to 2 pages to see the slate. And in terms of, the morning line, the short price is 7-2 in the form of Latigo. Nothing crazy in here. It's kind of a wide open betting board. And I think that's how it's going to be come Wednesday when this race comes around. I think this is going to be a really great betting event in terms of including this one in kind of multi-race sequences, but also in the exotic. So it's going to be interesting to see how this dash shakes up there on the dirt. We'll look at the time form, pace projections, and see how time form sees it playing out. And I agree. I do think the pace is going to be fast in here. Plenty of speed in this spot. Good looking Justice from post 8 can be forward. We've seen that time and time again, whether it's been the Grade 3 Perryville at Keeneland or last time out at Belterra Park on the slop. He wants to be forward. He really has one style, but with the same sort of idea, Latigo, he likes to be close to it. I don't know necessarily who I think is quicker. I probably would say Good Looking Justice, but it's tough to say. And Latigo is fine to have a target in front of him. You can also see the 2 projected to be in the running. Early Metallic Man, who was close to the action last time out in a 6-furlong event for trainer David Jacobson and was able to draw clear in there as the favorite. But if the pace is fast in here, do note the 7 Runaway Rojo does have the LP flag. This one now in the barn of Steve Asmussen after previously being with Dallas Stewart. He's a 5-time winner at Horseshoe Indianapolis, but typically is kind of closing from off of it. And don't know if he'll be that far back. I think he does have a wicked late turn of foot, but he's a horse that, depending what the fractions are, if they do go really fast, he'll be further back. If they're going moderately fast, I think he'll be a little bit closer than this suggests. But big field of 12 means we got to dive right into it. The number 1, Scotty's on Edge, is going to kick it off. This one tried the turf last time out at a sprint distance at 5/8, and they went very quick. Really wasn't able to close. And kind of look at the form in the career. Obviously, he's a 6-time winner. 5 of those wins have been on the dirt. And go to races such as 3-back. This horse ran huge and scored a little bit of an upset, beat some of his rivals that he'll face again, and got a nice trip close to it. And, there are situations where I think this is a horse that could get the right trip. Just wonder a little bit, based on what we've seen this year as a 6-year-old, is he going to have the same campaign as a 5-year-old? He's off to a little bit of a slower start, which is why you're getting better value on the 1, Scotty's on Edge. The 2, Metallic Man, we saw he could be forward from the get-go according to time form, and I agree with that. You look at the wins that he's had this year, or even his minor placings, he's been close to the action. I wonder how he's going to fare against this group. This is a big jump up in class. Ethan kind of looking, though, at his win most recently, or even the win 3 starts back, where he got an 80 buyer speed figure. That's sort of the right mix for this group. There are horses that are popping bigger buyers, closer to the 90s or even in the 90s. But I think he does fit based on numbers. I just wonder if he's just going to run into a tougher group. But you will get value. Typically something you don't get with David Jacobson, 12-1 on the morning line. The 3, CJ Storm, is going to be the first replay that we're going to look at. This is a horse that was 0 for 10 last year as a 4-year-old, and now he's 3 for 3 as a 5-year-old. And kind of looking at this performance back on June 4th, they went very quick in the William Henry Harrison handicap. And I think that's what really set up for him, because if you watch him at the top of the stretch compared to here, he's grinding away. I think the other horses are getting a little bit tired, but he still is able to finish, I think, respectably in this group. But I wonder if the pace is hot. Are we going to see him, with that same sort of trip, where I don't think you necessarily have to have this really big turn of acceleration and turn of foot in the stretch. I don't think you need that, especially when they're going that quick. And he was able to kind of have the jump on some of the deep closers, and that made all the difference. So no doubt about it, as a 5-year-old, he is in excellent form, and he comes in here off a really big buyer, career best. Prior to that last year, you can see it is 75, 83 in that most recent outing. He's 10-1 on the morning line. The 4, Neutron, up next out of the Gorham Barn, was second last time out in a 5.5 furlong event behind Healing Waters, and thought it was a good effort. I just worry a little bit about this one based on the 2 tries that we've seen against sort of handicap races for the Indiana breds. He hasn't fared all that best. He has to kind of face some of those rivals again, and he's typically not on the winning side of things. So you look at him, he's Not as seasoned as some of the others. He is eligible for non-winners of 3 life. And for me, he's a little bit of a tough sell against this group. The 5 Win Me Over is a stablemate. A horse that was third last time out exits that race. I shouldn't say exits that race, but exits a race that CJ Storm had won, And this is a horse that had to kind of duel it out early and just comes up third best in there. And the fractions were quick enough that I can understand why he tired. I thought his return to the races 2 back in mid-April was a really good effort. He seemed comfortable sitting off of it and then making one run. And big price in there, he was able to defeat Latigo. So he's a little intriguing to me. I think the other thing to notice is look at his races this year compared to last year. He's been closer to the action. And I don't know if that's been just kind of a result of the way the races have unfolded or because of different riders deciding to do different things with him after kind of speaking to his trainer. But I would say, depending where he's placed, I could see him getting a piece in here. And a horse that I think is going to take some respect in this spot. The 6, Mr. Chaos, up next. Was 7th last time out, exits the William Henry Harrison, where we saw CJ Storm was able to draw clear. This horse, you can go down the page. He can fire some big races. Last year, he had a very good campaign. I don't feel personally like in his 2 starts this year that he's been at that same level now, but doesn't mean he can't get there in his 3rd start. And again, similar to others in here, we've talked about some of the speed. He should be just a couple of lengths off it early on. The 7, Runaway Rojo, talked about it when we saw the pace projection, has the LP flag attached to him. He didn't fare well last time out, but he wasn't really well respected in that turf event back on May 19th. He went off at 11-1 and sort of in terms of his trip, stalked the pace, and he just did not have anything left in the stretch. And I like him getting back on the dirt. I think when you look at his dirt efforts, they've been good, but I actually have some reservations about him sprinting. You look at the dirt wins in 2024, they were both around 2 turns, a mile and a 16th and a mile and a 70 yards. And I think a lot has to do with that he has too much work to do in sprint races. I think when he goes longer, he can be more forward, and that puts him in the mix early, which is going to be maybe difficult for him against this group. The 8, Good Looking Justice. It's the 4-year-old son of Street Boss, who's 6 for 12 in his career. He's 10 for 12 in the money, and just a really fun horse to kind of look at his progression. Obviously, he started at Horseshoe Indianapolis. He stayed there for a long time. They took some spots with him, right? He fired some big numbers. He fired a 90 Beyer speed figure in that first level allowance 4 back. They put him in the grade 3 Perryville, and he was part of the pace, but he ended up kind of just dropping right out of it. He tired against that level of competition. And then since then, he probably needed the start first off the layoff, but in terms of what he was able to do next time out, I know it was at Belterra, just an allowance event, but he was much the best. I thought it looked like a very easy win, and I think getting back to Horseshoe Indy is not going to hurt him at all. We know how accomplished he is here, so he'll be a major player. Wouldn't be surprised if he goes off at shorter than his morning line price. The 9, Latigo for Randy Klopp. We will take a look at his most recent performance, which ends up being a dominant win. It's his 10th career win. Another really salty horse who's approaching almost $500,000 in purse earnings. And in terms of where he's going to kind of get going is right now. Early on in the race, he was comfortable just sitting and then gets to the front and continues to draw clear in here. And sure, he's asked a little bit, but I don't think Ramos is really calling upon him, and he decimates this field, a horse that obviously can hit those low 90 Beyers consistently. And most of the time he is hitting that. Mollystown is another rival in this spot. Again, you can see was 3rd best, well defeated. Just think there's a lot of upside. He rarely does anything wrong, especially these last few years. So Latigo, I think at 7-2, another one that's going to take some play off of that morning line. The 10, Mollystown, we mentioned the name there, was 3rd best. Prior to that, though, didn't fire in their turn to the races. So I think the last 2 in terms of the Beyers I find pretty unattractive. Beyers are not everything, but if you watch these videos, I use them as a tool, and just doesn't seem like this gelding has been able to get going. But you do look at those races 3 and 4 back, and that's where you wonder a little bit about this horse. If any of those performances come back, Mollystown is sneaky. Henro, Glengarry, Booth. Booth has turned out to be a really serious racehorse, and I think with that in mind, maybe Mollystown has just needed a couple of races to get going. You can see they make a rider change, gets a new rider. Maybe that's going to be part of the wake-up call as well. So I wouldn't count out Mollystown, maybe a minor player in here. The 11, Take It and Run. It's one of the Shannon McGovern barn. It's part of the pace last time out, going a mile and a 16th on the turf. They went way too quick, and this one backed out of it. But that's a race all the way back in November. So He's going to make his 4-year-old debut, a 2-time winner locally on the main track. And one of the wins was quite nice. I think the question, though, is the distance. I think this is another horse that this is a launching point to maybe some other kind of handicap races later this season. But the big difference being those races at 2 turns. And then the 12 Commander Storm going to round out the field. This is a horse that you look last year was a 4-time winner, yet to win this year, but really liked the effort two back. When this one got some pace help early, was able to close and finish second. I thought it was a really good run. You should watch the replay. Thought at some points maybe lost a little bit of ground and then was unable to really kind of get going last time out. And I think a main sort of issue last time out was, yes, this horse was towards the back, just like we saw 2 starts back, but way too far back in terms of lengths off the pace. So Commander Storm unfortunately draws the outside here, but knowing that he doesn't have a lot of early foot, I don't think it's going to hurt him. Maybe he can just break sharply and then kind of move over and save some ground and try to make one late run. But he's a big price here, 20-1 on the morning line. We've done it. We've gotten through the field of 12 here for this handicap race on Wednesday at Horseshoe Indy. Don't forget it's race 8, the Nobody Listens, a great betting event. If you're looking to get involved and need to do your handicapping, free past performances for this race and every race of the day that we offer here at the Daily Racing Forum. We will move to top selections, and I'm going to get creative here. Going to use the 3 CJ Storm, and when we kind of talked about the replay, no, I don't think he had this crazy turn of foot. I think the other horse was tired, and he did enough to kind of grind at them and kind of eat away at their lead. And he was able to draw clear in there. I think what I can really respect for him as well. He's 5 years old. He's in really good form. I think the pace is going to be quick enough that he's going to have something to run at. And I will have to hope that others kind of duel early and soften each other up. But at 10-1, really intrigued by CJ Storm. Talked about the pace. I think the 8 and the 9 are going to be involved. And you can see Latigo from post 9 is my second choice. Hard to ignore the form. A very sharp horse that doesn't need the lead to win. So I use him underneath, as well as the 8 Good Luck and Justice. I think he needs the lead a little bit to win. I think he just wants to go, and he just tries to go as quick as he can for as far as he can. And looking at his most recent win, very excited to see him return to Horseshoe Indy. So I use him in the 3rd spot. And then finally, trying to convince you of Molly's Town, the 10, a horse that when you look at his efforts, yes, he was well defeated last time out, but you go to the races 3 and 4 back late last year. He faced some really tough rivals, in my opinion, tougher that he's going to face them here. And I think there's some upside 3rd start off the layoff. Then he gets a new rider. Maybe that can wake him up a little bit in the spot at what figures to be a good price. But speaking of prices, the 3 CJ Storm, I think, is going to offer some value. So ultimately, I went 3, 9, 8, 10 here in this handicap race at Horseshoe Indy this Wednesday. Good luck.